After almost every match, I'll come out to St James's Park and just stand here, wait for the crowds to die down and reflect. And I've probably done that more this season than ever in the up and down roller coaster that has been the 23-24 season. But I think that this season is a one where we've learnt quite a lot, and in particular I think Eddie Howe now is starting to learn a couple of tactical things about his own team and his own development that could be quite handy moving forward. If you're curious, Newcastle fans, and I've got a feeling you are, do us a favour and make sure you stick around for a lovely dollop of black and white banter. There we go. Lovely. That's better. I mean, you know, the strawberries are nice enough view, but there is no nicer view than that beautiful place behind me. Je ne sais quoi. Just a shame about the face that stood in front of it. So, this season has been the most up and down roller coaster, spins side to side, backwards, you name it. It's like being at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Actually, no, we're not Blackpool Pleasure Beach anymore. It's been like being in Walt Disney in Florida. That on this new project. Yes, we're a bit more glamorous than the Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And I think what I'm starting to learn this season is that our fan base is a little bit split. Now, we have a manager in Mr. Eddie Howe, who I genuinely believe would self-proclaim to still be learning. He's obsessed with learning. And he's only ever really managed Bournemouth before us. And I think this season, for the players, for the management, for the ownership, for the fans, has been a lot of learning. I'm using that word a lot. Champions League football, the best in Europe we've had to come up against. Injuries, fixture congestion, playing new players in different positions, adapting, bringing new players in and learning where they can play. Like, you know, I'm not going to read any in particular. Lewis Hall, for example, lots of people not happy that he hasn't come in. Eddie Howe is trying to get him to learn, in my opinion, what seems to be how we play and improve before he comes into the team. There's been so much going on, and I think our fan base is split between some fans are with Eddie Howe in learning and staying patient with getting better and learning as we go, and some, because of last season's absolutely unbelievable achievements, the expectation has gone a little bit higher, and with that the patience has gone a little bit lower. And that's fine. We are all fans. You can have your opinions about other people's opinions. If we all thought the same, this would be a very boring video, and you probably wouldn't be subscribing to anybody on YouTube, because we'd all be thinking the same, so it would be the same things getting churned out. You see my point? But I think that Eddie Howe this season, aside from all what it's like to play in the Champions League, what it's like to go to San Siro, what it's like to do this, what it's like to do that, from a tactical point of view, as the season's gone on, what do I think Mr. Eddie Howe has learned that could stand us in absolutely fantastic stead, not only between now and the end of the season, but next season, when we have players back, when we have a transfer window. So let's dive in and discuss. So I'm going to ask you one question. If you want to answer it in the comments, that's fine, but I'm going to answer it for you because we all know the answer. If I was to say to you, how do you think Eddie Howe's Newcastle United team identify, you would probably say one word. No prizes for guessing it. It's intensity. Ding, 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 ding. Try and put a sound effect over that. It is intensity. And I have said on numerous videos that where I think Mr. Eddie Howe has gone wrong this season is earlier in the season, when our squad was starting to get down to the bare bones, he did not adapt his style, and we kept on playing with our 4-3-3, press from the front, press from midfield, and our energy levels were just not there. And eventually it was like a car going and that Bournemouth away game, when, you know, well, infamous now for a certain reason at the end of the match with Kieran Trippier, but that was one of the worst performances I've seen for energy levels, just looking like we'd just been to Dortmund the Wednesday before. We just ran out of steam, and I think Eddie Howe tried to play the same system for too long. So as we are moving into the end of the season, our form is absolutely flying, which with the injuries, I'll keep saying it because it deserves to keep being said, is incredible. But what do I think he's starting to learn? Well, Mr. Rafa Benitez, total reverse back in time. Don't worry, I'm not going to remind you too much of the Ashley days. Mr. Benitez, love him or hate him when he was Newcastle manager, and I know he splits opinion. He once famously said in an interview, after we put so many men behind the ball at home to Chelsea, when Jamie Redknapp criticised him, he said that stats on possession are just for TV and they don't mean very much. And whilst possession is great, because if you have more of the ball, of course you're going to have more chance of scoring. If you don't have the ball, it's very difficult to put the ball in the back of the net. But more recently, what I am starting to realise with this Newcastle team is that we don't always have to be a team that has all of the football and dominates from the first whistle to the last with the ball at our feet. And that goes in turn with that intense pressing style from the first minute to the last. So I know what you might be thinking. What are you going on about, Matthew? Well, I'm going to tell you. There have been a couple of matches this season that I've discussed on videos where Eddie Howe has decided to change things. It hasn't happened very often, as I've just said earlier, and I'm sure Eddie will probably regret that when he looks back on the season, that he kept our playing style so similar throughout all the injuries and the lack of squad rotation. But when Newcastle have changed their system and surrendered a little bit of possession and gone a little bit more compact, we have come out on top. Take you back. Wolves at home. Wolves came to St James's Park in pretty good form. Really good side this season. I think Gary O'Neill is not getting enough praise as what he probably should coming into that Wolves team and doing the job that he's done. They came to St James's expecting us to have all of the ball and to press them quite hard. We did very, very much the opposite. We sat back a little bit. We said, Wolves, you have the football and we'll hit you where it hurts. And my God, did we hit them where it hurt. Wolves were a little bit confused. They struggled with the ball in areas closer to our box because we went more compact. We went more compact in our midfield, and that was nice to see at a time when goals were going in left, right and centre. We won the match 3-0, and if you remember, one of our goals, the first one, was one pass, bang, Gordon was gone, Bruno supported him, the rest, as they say, is history. Isak bangs in a lovely little header. And we won that game on that day quite comfortably without having so much of the ball, and I will share our possession stats on the screen now. Much more recently, how could we forget? I've spent my whole weekend watching the highlights with there being no Eddie Howe's mags to keep us entertained. Tottenham at home. The possession stats in that game to say we dominated and we could have scored 6 or 7 and nothing short of being a freak in world football. If there are so little occasions at the highest level when you can have as little of the ball as what the stats say that we did, but also dominate the match from start to finish, and on another day potentially should have won the match, what, 6-7-0. We had missed headers, Isak missed the one. It was just an absolutely wonderful day at the office. But again, we were playing against a side who were chasing European football. We changed our formation and went 5 at the back, a makeshift 5 at the back, and we became more compact, but we kept on hitting them where it hurts. And Eddie Howe now is probably starting to learn about this Newcastle team that, yes, we always want to be entertained. Eddie Howe has done that from the first time he came in, and we know his philosophy is to entertain us Newcastle fans. And that, in my opinion, is why he's so loved and why we've actually topped Kevin Keegan's goal-scoring entertaining records, and the season's not even done yet. Wonderful, class. We're getting a bit of money for our season tickets inside there. The less said about the other end, the better, but we'll touch on that in a second, and things are going well. But also, in this beautiful thing that is the Premier League, to stay competitive, you have to play things smart, which leads me on to why adapting 2 different without the ball is very important because of these factors. Look at who we have in our team. We have Harvey Barnes. You know he likes to be on the shoulder. He's not a player who likes to take a man on. He likes to make the run, and he likes someone to slip him a ball. We've got Alexander Isak, who basically made Mickey van der Ven against Tottenham look like a break dancer from a cheesy 80s documentary. That's what he looked like a back and dancer. That's what he can do. The ball over the top and he's gone. And Anthony Gordon, do I even need to introduce him? I've just talked about his contribution in that Wolves counter-attacking goal. He's been phenomenal. We've then got Joe Willock, who's out for the season now, unfortunately. He's got pace to burn. We've got Joe Linton, who can drive past players. We've got Almiron, but he's got pace. We cannot deny that Almiron, in terms of carrying the ball up the pitch, in that sort of system, when we sit back and let the opposition have the ball for spells, is a very good outlet in just driving the ball. What he does after that, that's another opinion for another day. Jacob Murphy can carry the ball and get a shot off and also take a man on his day when he's in that sort of mood. We have so many players who suit a system where we can hurt teams so much that if they have all of the football, they are going to be scared to commit too many men forward. And if they do, bang, we'll stay nice and compact as we did against Wolves. And to be fair, for large spells against Tottenham, we were pretty solid. We didn't allow James Maddison or Son, who's one of the best players in the Premier, in my opinion, too much. We really didn't. Go a little bit more compact with Tonali and Joe Linton to come back next season. And let's start forgetting in some matches about having all of the ball and pressing from the first whistle to the last being the key component, because we will start to get found out if we do that week in, week out. And I personally think that Eddie Howe now is starting to realise that he has an adaptive group of players depending on the opposition, which is my next point. There are so many teams in the Premier League, just looking at possession stats this season, that will surrender lots of the football and allow the opposition to come onto them. Those are the matches where our pressing style is going to work to some degree, as long as we don't overcommit. And that is where Eddie Howe's system is going to be great. But there are certain teams in the Premier League where we will just have to accept that we'll have to go a little bit more compact, allow them to have a bit of the ball, stay organised, press when appropriate, and hit them hard. Because no Newcastle fan can say, I don't care who you are watching this video, that Tottenham game was bad to watch because we did not have all of the football. Are you saying that? I'm not. And when I saw the possession stats against Tottenham, to say we won 4-0, my mind was blown, because that's one of the best matches I've seen at St James's. So when I'm talking about giving up possession like the Benitez days, I'm not saying John Joe Shelby. We can all remember when he booted the ball to the opposition on the kickoff and we just all sat back. That's not what I'm saying here, that Eddie Howe's going to go defensive. I'm saying how we set up with a back five, with a midfield five, depending on how he chooses to play, depending on how he likes to set up, like he did against Tottenham, but also like he did against Wolves, could be so important moving forward in this season of learning in getting us more points next season against certain opposition. And now let's touch on that defensive line. We all know that some teams will continue to try and play us with a high line, and I can share some of them on the screen, who plays with the highest and who plays with the least highest. If teams are going to continue to play with a high line, I have got no issue with Eddie Howe surrendering that football, letting them do what their worst, as long as we are nice and solid at the back and we do have good players on our day. Again, lots of long-term injuries, your Shares, your Botmans, your Trippiers, your Livramentos, the list goes on. Dan Burn's been solid at centre-back. There are a lot of players there that should allow us to allow that team to have the football. But my God, when teams with a high line play against us, they are taking huge risks. Ask Mickey van der Ven, who I think is still spinning round. And I just think that we've all learned so much this season. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about our own fan base. I've learned a lot about European adventures and maybe how far we are still off competing with some of the very best. But I'm fine with that. But what I think is really important at the moment is that I think Eddie Howe, who is obsessed with learning, in my opinion, is learning now as the season is going on, that this system that he loves to play, that will always be our identity, intensity is our identity, can be adapted, but we can still just chuck a couple of rose petals on top and get the results by doing so. And I think more recent matches against Wolves and Tottenham have proved that we do not always have to set up in a rigid 4-3-3 and have all of the football. We are in good company in our possession stats, and again I will share them on the screen. That's good. When we have the football, we are more likely to score. But let's become adaptive. And Eddie Howe will have been very impressed with how his new system against Tottenham worked. Kind of going back to the first season he came in when we stayed up, where he didn't have time or the players necessarily to go out possession. It was about results, and he did that. And I'm interested to see where some of our new systems go into next season. But Newcastle fans, as always, thank you very much for tuning into this one outside of was quite a sunny St James's Park. If you're new round here, do us a little favour, drop us a little likey Lou. That goes a very long way for this video. Whack that subscribe, get us across all social media, and there will be more videos to come, including obviously everything surrounding a lovely little midweek trip down to London. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy whatever you're up to today, and I'll see you on the next one. How are you? Eddie Howe's Tactical Adaptive Man.